My grandmother stood in the hallway, her face twisted with rage as she pounded on my bedroom door. "Open this door right now. How dare you keep my son from me?" I sat on the floor, my back pressed against the door, clutching the stack of letters my dad wrote to me before he died. His last pieces of love, his last memories, his last words. And in that moment, I realized something. Some people don't just want a piece of you. They want the pieces of you that hurt the most. This is the story of how my grandmother tried to take the only thing my father left me, and how I made sure she never tried again. If you've ever had someone try to take advantage of your grief, or felt the need to fight for something that mattered more than anything, hit that like button, subscribe and buckle up, because this is one of the most emotional, infuriating, and ultimately satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today. My name is Evan, and when I say my dad was my entire world, I mean it. Growing up, it was just me, my mom, and him. And he wasn't perfect, no parent is, but he tried. Every single day, especially when he got diagnosed. He had cancer, and instead of letting me see him weak, hooked up to machines, he found another way to be there for me. He wrote me letters, not cheesy Hallmark stuff, real letters. Letters that sounded like him, sarcastic, blunt, emotional in the weird dad way where they pretend they aren't emotional at all. Some were apologies, some were advice, some were confessions about the things he wished he could have done better. But every single one of them felt like he was sitting right next to me. When he passed, I was 16, and those letters, they were the only things that kept me from completely falling apart. For 2 years, I kept them safe. Not hidden, but safe. The kind of safe where you don't show people, because it feels like showing them your bones. Then one afternoon, during a family get-together, my grandmother, his mother, walked into my room while I was looking for a charger. I didn't even notice until she said, "What are these?" I turned around and saw her holding the box. My stomach dropped, because I knew exactly what she was touching. I walked over and gently pulled it from her hands. They're letters. From Dad. Her eyes widened like she had just found buried treasure. "Let me read them," she said immediately. "Not may I? Not if you're comfortable. Just a demand." I shook my head. "They're private." Her lips pressed together. Hard. "Private?" She repeated like she couldn't believe it. "Evan, that was my son. And he was my dad," I said quietly. Something shifted in her face. Something sharp. But she didn't argue. Not yet. The next morning, my phone started buzzing. Aunt, uncle, cousin, great-uncle, grandma's church friend. Every message said some version of, "Why are you hurting your grandmother? Let her see her son's letters. You're too young to understand her pain." Apparently, she had told everyone that I was keeping her son from her, like he belonged to her. Like his last words to me was some kind of inheritance she was entitled to cash in. It made me feel sick. That night, she showed up at our house. She didn't knock. She barged in. She walked right into the living room where I was watching TV and said, "Give me the letters." Cold, flat, entitled. I stood up slowly. "No." She took one step closer. "I carried him for 9 months. I raised him. I buried him. You don't get to keep anything from me." My mom walked in before I could respond, and for the first time in my life, I saw my mother truly angry. "Get out," she told her. But my grandmother wasn't done. She leaned toward me and hissed, "You're cruel. Cruel and selfish. Your father would be ashamed." And even though I knew she was wrong, even though I knew none of it was true, those words hit something deep. A week later, my uncle came over. He's the reasonable one, the peacemaker. Translation, he thinks he can fix everything with a tone of voice and a shrug. "Just let her read one," he said. "She's old. She's emotional. You know how mothers are when they lose their kids." I shouldn't have listened, but I was exhausted, and a part of me wanted the war to stop. So I said yes. I let her read one letter. The second she finished it, she looked at me like she finally had leverage. Then she demanded the rest, and I said no. Again. That's when she exploded, tears pouring down her face, hands shaking, voice breaking like shards of glass. "How dare you keep this from me? How dare you?" Then she tried to snatch the box from my hands. I froze. My mind went white. My legs moved on instinct. I ran. I grabbed the letters, sprinted to my room, locked the door, slid down to the floor, and stayed there until she left. On the other side of the door, she kept screaming, "You're heartless. You're disgusting. He wasn't yours. You don't deserve him." Every word sliced through me. And in that moment, something inside me hardened. She thought grief made me soft. She thought guilt would break me. She forgot one thing. My dad taught me how to fight for what mattered, even in those hospital letters. He taught me. After that night, she refused to attend family events unless I gave her the remaining letters. And the family? They rallied around her. She's old. She's grieving. Just give them to her. But not one of them cared about what I was feeling. Not one asked why it mattered so much to me. Not one asked what the letters actually were. They weren't family history. They weren't memories of childhood or parenting or holidays. They were personal, targeted, intimate. They were written for me, about me, to me. They were the only part of him that was still alive in my hands. And she wanted to take that away. That's when I decided, if she wanted to play dirty, fine. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The first step was locking the letters away in a fireproof safe in my closet. Because after the way she tried to grab them, I didn't trust her not to try again. The second step? Letting the family choose sides. I told anyone who asked the truth. Dad didn't write these letters for anyone else. He wrote them for me. They're mine. They stay with me. Some understood. Some didn't. But all of them heard it. And my grandmother hated that. She thrives on control. Being the matriarch. Having the final say. So I took that from her. And then I went one step further. I wrote a letter, not to her, to myself. A letter about boundaries. A letter about ownership. A letter about keeping the parts of my dad that were meant for me. And I posted it on my private social page. Not public. Not tagged. But this family, they snoop. And sure enough, it spread. Everyone read it. And everyone saw exactly what she was trying to do. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't, poor grieving grandmother. It became, she tried to take advantage of a grieving teenager. And she knew it. She called me screaming, how dare you humiliate me like this? I calmly said, how dare you try to take my dad from me? And hung up. After that final phone call, the house went quiet for a few days. Not peaceful quiet. The heavy kind. The kind that feels like a storm is gathering itself before the strike. My mom checked in on me constantly, making sure I was okay. But I could see the guilt in her eyes. Not guilt that I did something wrong, but guilt that her son was being treated like he was property instead of a person grieving. Then one evening, she knocked gently on my door. She's calling the whole family again, she said softly, saying you're cruel and damaged, and that if you don't give her the letters, she'll never forgive you. I took a deep breath. That's fine, I said. And for the first time, I meant it. 'Cause here's the truth most people never tell you. Sometimes peace comes from losing the people who want to control your pain. A week later, everything exploded. My grandmother showed up uninvited again. But this time she didn't come to talk. She came to take... She must have thought I wasn't home, because she went straight upstairs while my mom was in the backyard. I heard the creak of the floorboards and walked out of my room just in time to see her going. Through my drawers. My chest tightened. My face went hot. My hands started shaking. What are you doing? She whipped around, startled. I know they're here, she snapped. You can't hide them from me forever. She lunged for my closet door. I stepped in front of her. Firm. Still. Solid. They're in a safe, I said, locked. And you're not touching them. Her face twisted into something hateful. You selfish boy, she spat. You don't deserve his last words. That was it. That was the moment everything snapped. Not in anger. Not in fear. In clarity. I realized she didn't want those letters to feel connected to him. She wanted them to feel in control of him, even in death. So I walked to the door, opened it, and pointed outside. Get out, I said. Her jaw dropped. You can't talk to me like that. I'm your grandmother. Not today, I said. Not after this. She stormed out of the room, down the stairs, and out of the house, screaming threats the entire way. But I didn't chase her. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. For the first time since Dad died, I protected something the way he would have wanted me to. You might think the revenge was me confronting her, or cutting her off, or writing that letter publicly. But that wasn't it. The real revenge? It happened 2 weeks later. Because when you build your whole identity around being the family victim, you're not ready when the truth comes out. My uncle, her golden child, her loyal soldier, came to our house. He sat down in the living room, rubbed his face, and sighed. She told me what she did, he said. She told me she tried to break into your room. I stayed quiet. He continued. She told the family you threatened her. She said you screamed at her and shoved her. She said a lot of things. I felt my stomach drop. Then he shook his head, but none of it made sense. So I asked your mom, and then I asked her again, and then I asked her in front of my wife. He leaned back, and she admitted she lied. My heartbeat stopped for half a second. She admitted she made up stories to make people feel sorry for her, he said. She admitted she wanted the letters, because she wanted to keep a part of him for herself, even if it meant taking them from you. He looked exhausted, older somehow. I'm done defending her, he said, and so is the rest of the family. That was it. The moment everything flipped. The people who attacked me, They stopped calling. The people who guilt-tripped me, they backed off. And my grandmother? She tried to save face, but the family wasn't buying it anymore. Her manipulation, the thing she used all her life, finally worked against her. She lost her audience, her power, her voice. And the best part? I didn't have to scream. I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to lose myself. I just had to protect the letters my dad trusted me with. And when the truth finally came out, everyone saw exactly who she really was. My grandmother eventually stopped showing up, stopped calling, stopped dragging the family into her storms. Without the sympathy she fed on, she withdrew into herself. My uncle apologized. My cousins apologized. Even my aunt, who never apologizes for anything, sent a long message. But none of that mattered as much as the moment I went back into my room, unlocked the safe, pulled out the box of letters, and held them in my hands. I felt peaceful for the first time in years, because I finally understood. Dad didn't write those letters so someone else could rewrite him. He wrote them so I wouldn't lose him. And I wasn't about to let anyone, not even family, take that away. Sometimes the biggest revenge isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It isn't burning bridges or screaming matches. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is protecting what matters and letting people destroy themselves with the truth. Grief doesn't make you selfish. Boundaries don't make you cruel. And someone else's pain doesn't give them the right to steal yours. If this story hit you in the heart, or if you've ever had to defend something that mattered more than words, smash that like button. Tell me in the comments, whose side do you think was right? And what would you have done with those letters? Make sure to subscribe for more emotionally charged, deeply satisfying revenge stories. Because trust me, the next one is even wilder.